Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having my monthly conversation with Thomas Caldwell. He is chairman of Caldwell Securities in Toronto. I may have spoken a little bit too soon. We will talk about the China trade situation, Tom, but please, if you've got any more thoughts on government programs for business, please let us know.
Well, it's for the investor or for people generally speaking. We have all these things like the tax-free savings account, the RESP, the RRSP. All of these programs are the house building programs, and they're very hard to access. And it would seem to me to make more sense to have one program, the tax-free savings account. You can use it for your pension, you can use it for your house, you can use it for your kids' education, and it really cuts administrative burden and it simplifies things. Raise it to a certain amount, and people can work with that. But even the rest of these have mountains of bureaucracy behind them to support each of those programs. And they're becoming marginally less effective, whereas you got one program that everybody understands, and you can use whatever money you shelter any way you want.
Right.
That to me makes sense. Have a simple one program as opposed to a whole bunch, but that's just one opinion.
No, and at TFSA, since it was introduced by my good friend Jim Flaherty way back when now, it's been a wildly successful initiative, hasn't it?
That's the best one. And the rest of it all have strings attached to it. You got to make sure and get this receipt from the university, and this is your first time. It's so complicated. It's not helping people. Maybe that's why they have them. They want to offer this great thing politically, but it really doesn't do any good. Tax-free savings, one thing, that was solid. Anyway, I'm sorry to sidetrack you.
No, that's great. It's an important point. I appreciate you bringing that up. So China, obviously, just to bring our viewers up to date, of course, the government of Canada fell in line with the U.S. and other countries to impose tariffs on electric vehicles coming from China. The only response from the Chinese government so far has been against Canada with a review of canola, one of in fact, our biggest export to China. So I'd love to get your thoughts on if a trade war is brewing and whether we're handling this properly. What's your take on all of this?
Nobody really wins from a trade war or a war of any kind, for that matter. The electronic vehicle thing is a challenge because chatting with a senior person at General Motors some months ago, General Motors takes about $60,000 to really put out an electric vehicle. China, $20,000. And here's the conflict. You know, if you're an environmentalist, why not let everybody buy vehicles for $20,000 and do it? But you have an economic responsibility to keep the economy going. So that's a challenge, and we have to be in lockstep with the states. Otherwise, they'll shut the door on us.
Right.
So we have to play ball with them. China has some big issues facing these. For example, in China, most people's savings are in houses or accommodation. There are people who own 4 or 5 condominiums or apartments, etc. The value of these has cratered. There are some cash problems, there's cash flow problems. That there's some minor municipalities in China, they're not paying salaries anymore. They don't have the money for it. So there is an economic crisis brewing and looming, actually in place in China now. So that's going to create problems. And remember, when totalitarian regimes get into problems, the best answer from the textbook is point for an external enemy. It's the Americans, it's the Canadians, etc. So they become bellicose for their populace, if you will, to blame it on somebody else.
Right.
So it's going to be sort of a tricky time. But I don't think anybody, including the Chinese, want to see a trade war. Everybody's going to play ball. I sat in a think tank in Defense Matters years and years ago. There's always back channels. You know, you see China and the Americans are doing some stuff together. All the top guys still communicate back channel. Nobody wants this thing to get out of hand. So I think despite all the rhetoric, they'll try to keep it containable.
Oh, I see. So you're kind of optimistic that this won't really go completely off the rails then?
Kind of. I think so, because I don't think it's in anybody's interest, America's, Canada's, or China's interest, to have a major trade war going on. We're having frictions built in the military side. It's flopping over into the commercial side.
Right.
But I think deep down, everybody wants to back it off. One of the dirty little secrets is everybody benefits from world trade. I know the political rhetoric goes the other way, but like it or not, economically, it helps everybody. So I think that reality is there. That's just my gut feel.
No, I appreciate that because obviously we want to be. It's a tough position for Canada to be in lockstep with our major trading partners, but at the same time not be the focus of the Chinese wrath as a result of these trade policies. So we'll keep a watch on that one. Tom, we're going to take another brief break. We'll be back after these messages.